While some of us don't like our 9 to 5, I, myself, this week, I became a secret shopper. I started to buy the dip, people. I started to see a lot of opportunities in the market. This is just going to be one huge recap of what I already said was going to happen. But thanks to the man in office, here's what happened. We got instead of this down, up, then down to touch this trend line, we got a straight drawdown. And that's something that I always look for in the market. And here's why. I'm able to collect top premium in one setting versus having to buy calls to catch the bounce back up and then go back into puts. I prefer to hold the P's and then just collect top dollar once it hits the trend line. And we got that and then some. Now, this line right here is going to be very interesting. This is the day of CPI data, post CPI data market closing. And tomorrow we have jobless claims. Now, as I said many of times via my stock twits, 230K, anything below 230K and below, the market is going to take that as a good sign. Anything above 230K, we're going to see more of this drawdown. And believe me, we have a long way to go, people. I already had put this out there. I already had gave up the chart. Pretty much I can just chalk this up right now real quick here. On the right hand side, we got the Qs and pretty much just look for this 524 area and then slide that right across. You see how we got that touching those lines. We have the right angle right here. We have the drawdown. And again, it's below this level. So again, this is just obvious. If the Qs do not reclaim this 474 area, it's over. Oh, it's over. But there is a silver lining here. On the left side, we got the SPY. Pretty much the same setup as the Qs. But there is something particularly interesting that I have found within both of these charts, and it's not on the daily. I've been more so trading on the 5 minute for both of these, and here's why. So as you see, I love finding trends. I'm going to get rid of this line right here. Actually, no, I'm going to keep that line. I'm going to keep this right here on the Qs. But then, so before, matter of fact, let me just set it up to where we actually know what line this specifically is. Okay, let's make that more noticeable. All right, there. So this is the pretty much the depths of hell. Below this line is the depths of hell. So all right, so we had the SPY set up right here on the left side, and then we have the right side, we have the QQQs. Here's what's interesting about the pattern that I've seen on SPY. So we have actual two sideways trends, a shorter range and a wider range actually taking place at the very same time. So again, we obviously have this top line here. I'm going to place that there. Let's make sure that that is actually seen. Let's thicken these lines up. All right, so we're just going to use that white line. Then we're going to clone that. We're going to bring this down here. So here's your obvious. Here's the obvious. Um, Here's the obvious wider sideways trend line on a 5 minute. All right. Now we're going to pull up a shorter trend, which will be right about, it's going to be right about here. And let's clone that and we're going to drop that in here. So here we go. So we have this tighter sideways trend line here, and then we have our wider sideways trend line. Now, notice I want you guys to pay attention to this tighter sideways trend line. Again, this is what we're in. This is what we've seen today. It got real tight. And again, preparations for jobless claims. Now I'm going to do the exact same on the Qs. All right, give me a minute. Do the same thing on the Qs. We're going to go here. Let's change this. Then we're going to clone this, create that bottom. I'd say we're here. Actually, let's move this up. We're here. And then I'm gonna clone this again, and then clone it one more time. Check this out. I will always focus on SPY because it has a larger range to actually go into a breakout level. Whereas the Qs can trip you up. The Qs actually move a lot more, a lot faster. And again, it's super indecisive. Where you have SPY, it literally takes its time and everything is targeted. I knew to sit here and fade the top because if you look at what happened um from market open, you see alone on SPY we have this top here. So I'm gonna bring up this top. We have this top here that happened on SPY, double top. But again, that same thing did not occur. I don't know why I just cloned it on there. Um, but the same thing did not occur here on QQQs on open. But as you see on both of them, it was the same thing again. Okay, so here we go. Another double top on SPY, but then we have here on the Qs, let's clone that. Barely. It didn't even care to actually double tap because SBY had already rejected 562. And the Qs was actually putting up a lot of work, actually trying to like break out. I mean, I seen it. I kind of felt bad for the Qs. It was like, hey, come on, man, SBY, catch up. Let's go. But again, it constantly failed over and time again to actually break above that 562 level to pretty much retest it from open of market today. What is it? March 12th. If jobless claims pretty much disappoints, we'll see this drawdown. We see that the Qs had pretty much closed below this major 477 here today, and is the exact same with SPY. So we'll see pre-market if the indexes are actually above the bottom downtrend line, and if so, I do believe it will be a hint. It will be a hint into what jobless claim numbers will look like. Now, if pre-market we see the Qs below, again still at this 477 level, during pre-market ahead of jobless claims, I do believe that will be the hint that it will probably come the data will come in line, but then the market will still try to break above these levels, but again it will be met with this resistance level. So you see where the lines are at here. Again, I like playing with the Qs a whole lot. So you see where these lines are lined up at and why it is very, very important at current levels. So we got a straight drawdown versus getting, this type of chop down, up before touching a trend line. So you figure we could see a bounce to, again, as I said, come to this 492, but possibly come, midway 504 right here to cover this candlestick, this 3-3 candlestick. But what worries me the most is not just the weekly, because again, the index will have to come above this 480 level to get bullish again, because this is the weekly, and last week's or this week's candle plus last week's candle is a red candle. So we do need a red candle, and for that red or a green candle, and for that green candle to happen, either this week closing or next week, we would need to see a nice reversal. But we should see a reversal here coming, Thursday, Friday, if the data is comes in line or softer than expected, lighter than expected. But again, it's not the weekly that I'm more so worried about here. I'm more so worried about the monthly, because as you see with the monthly, that trend line has been still intact. We're still in pretty much an uptrend. Like if you look at this monthly here, we're still in an uptrend even after, that sell off. But then we have, this full sell off going on here, that again we didn't even see, and we're typically at the tip of the iceberg. So you figure if we get this sell off, it will come down to, I mean, this is literally the same. Let's see if I can delete this and then go in again and pretty much see if I can like match that up to have this even make sense. Actually, because I'm still cheating a little bit. Let's do this again. So we're gonna go here. All right, so yeah, so it's pretty much around the same 391. Uh, and that would give us that monthly sell-off that looks pretty, yeah. So there we go. So that looks pretty good, right? So yeah, that looks pretty fair. That looks pretty fair. So we could see, because even if we zoom in here, we could see a nice bounce. This is typically where we're at. This is typically where we're at now on a monthly. So we could see this sideways play out, a nice little bounce again before more downside come. And I'm pretty much sitting here watching everything play out, taking advantage of what I've charted and stick it to my game plan. See ya.